here in studio, we had to take that as it's quite important, something that's affecting quite a number of Kenyans. But Amos Kimunya, I was coming to you. You've heard what Opiyo Wandayi has had to say. He's blamed the process, saying that, this is really Jubilee's strategy to rig the election through, the back door of the law.
Let me say, I agree, first of all, that in ordinary circumstances, a bipartisan approach is best for purposes of, creating total consensus.
Yeah.
But that works when there's good faith between the parties. But when there's mischief by one party wanting to sabotage every process, then you will just be waiting forever. And time is of essence here. We have 60 days within which to conduct an election. We have some dark areas that need to be, some light to be shed on. We need to remove some ambiguities within the law. We need to remove some doubts so that even when we go to court, the judges can have some better framework for looking at these things, not telling them this or that, in those circumstances, if the people you're dealing with were to be trusted that come tomorrow, give us names so we can constitute a committee, and they go and tell us, in fact, the last time they withdrew from Parliament, they said, we are going for a parliamentary group meeting, and by afternoon, I'm in the House Business Committee. In the afternoon, we'll give you names to add to this ad hoc committee. We waited. No names came, right? So when you're dealing with people who have no faith, where there's no good faith in the process, then you must now take the next best option, which is to build consensus on a national basis, right? Get a broad-based committee. That committee includes members who are not necessarily Jubilee, right? And the public participation is from all manner of Kenyans who are not aligned to any party. So Parliament itself has 349 members. The bill will be passed by Parliament. The committee is anchored within the Constitution, because the Constitution says Parliament shall set up committees. So there's nothing illegal about the process. Let's get that right. The people of Kenya elected a Parliament. Parliament is in session. Parliament has a mandate. It works through the committee, set up the committee. It's actually invited the people, and the process is going, and it will continue. Now, I share the frustration of my colleagues. They know they don't have the numbers. So there's that feeling that it doesn't matter our voice, that Jubilee will always carry the day. But what we are saying, the law we are making here, is not for Jubilee. There's nowhere within that bill that says the Jubilee candidate shall be given preference. This law is good for Uhuru as it's good for Raila. And if they had the numbers out there, in fact, they should be clapping and say, we have now a law that is weak. Anyone can declare as chairman. Anyone can do ABCD, declare the results. So if they had the numbers, then they should not be worried about the process, about the law. But because they know they don't have the numbers, so they are trying to look for every small loophole within the law, so they can go back to court and say, okay, Jubilee had the numbers, but this process did not take place properly. This, for the first time in globally, we've had a situation where the process has become more important than the result. I'm an accountant. I'm an auditor. If this building was to go up in flames, God forbid, the results of the Standard Media Group, right, would, we would have to assess what is the impact of that accident that took place vis-a-vis the results of the camera. Do they still present a true and fair view, right? You don't say, because the building burned down, we don't know how these figures were produced. Yeah, you must look at the process relative to the results. Right? Did the absence of 10 forms affect the results? Did the fact that one polling station in Kipipiri was not opened in time, would it have mattered whether it was opened? Right? So those are the things that we want to tidy up so that the process becomes as important as the numbers, and vice versa.
But still going to the process,
but the process of getting these laws through is legit. Okay, let's have no doubt about that, and it cannot be stopped just because one party does not want to participate, because that is their discretion. It's up to them to say whether you want to come to Parliament or not, whether you want to join a committee or not. Even if they were appointed in the committee, they could still absent themselves, and it's up to them.
Betty,
yeah.
Betty, I think you see the contradiction. it's very, very apparent that the motive cannot have been any worse than it is on the part of Jubilee. And why do I say so? You know, this idea of us being frustrated, I don't know where it comes from, because we haven't said that we are frustrated by anything. We are very confident of the numbers. In fact, we have said many times that we are ready for elections as early as yesterday.
Which numbers do you have?
But those elections, but now, which numbers do you have, if I ask those questions?
We have
okay,
so many.
Let's not go into the numbers.
No, we have so many senators, we have so many MPs, we have so many governors, we have so many women reps.
Numbers, you see, which is the crux of the matter.
Right.
Which is why we want to get away from the computer.
I wish I would just be allowed to
we're
make
losing
my
the
point.
focus. Just make your point.
You know, if the Constitution, the spirit, the letter and the spirit of the Constitution is such that for the country to move forward, there needs to be consensus building.
Yes.
There needs to be broad-based participation by every facet of society. It doesn't matter whether the person you have to talk to is somebody you don't like. In fact, you don't have to love us for you to talk to us.
Yes.
The Constitution decrees that you engage us because we are a significant factor in the affairs of this country. Yes. That must be appreciated. Yeah, you like us, you don't like us.
And that engagement is within the framework of Parliament.
But secondly, I have addressed myself to the issues contained in the bill, having moved away from the matter of the committee. Yeah, and those are very serious issues, which I expect my colleague to address.
Okay.
No, you'll get time to.
Let him just finish his point first.
Can you tell us, because of the interest of time, what is this one aspect within the bill that is so pro-Jubilee and anti-NASA?
I was just building my case. And you've heard my colleague here say blatantly that if we had the numbers, we wouldn't mind what kind of laws are in place.
If you had,
that is terrible. That is terrible.
Because the bill is
ridiculous
for either side.
Because the laws are not being made for people who either have numbers or don't have numbers. The laws are made for posterity, and the laws are made to ensure that processes that guide elections are happen in a manner that is predictable, that is watertight. You see, and it must also be repeated. The Supreme Court did make a finding, a very serious finding, that elections cannot be an event. Elections are a process.
Right.
Yes, and it's the process that is determined by the existing laws. So the legal framework is critical for ensuring that the process works well. So you cannot divorce the process from the laws.
Okay.
But ultimately, my point is, indeed, those amendment proposals as contained in the bill can only serve one purpose. And the purpose they can serve is to make it possible, to make it easier for Jubilee to steal the elections and get away with it. And why do I say so? Why do you think Jubilee is looking comfortable with Chebukati being the sole person to declare the presidential results?
No,
it has never been a problem. It has never been, no. It has never been a problem ever since the ECK led by Kivuiti.
It's NASA who is
ever since the ABC led by Hassan Hassan, and now the main reason why Jubilee wants to disperse these powers of Chebukati is the fear that perhaps for whatever reason Chebukati might fail, or might decline, or might not be in a hurry to declare Uhuru Kenyatta the winner, and therefore they must get a second person who is user-friendly to do so, under whatever circumstances.
Let's get things clear here. The amendments being made to the law is to remove those dark areas that were identified within the framework of the ruling. Okay? And it says very clear, one of the things you realize, within the Constitution and within the law, it says the national chairman shall be the national returning officer. Okay? The law is silent on what happens if he's not there, right? It's silent. So do you want to remain within that darkness? Or do you want to then look at what is already provided within the same law, within the first schedule, in terms of the business of the commission? It's already very clear that for conducting the business of the commission, the chair shall chair all the meetings. In the absence of the chair, the vice chairman. In the absence of the vice chairman, then the others.
But the question really is why now? That was not an issue before the August 8th election.
That's what I'm saying. But you see, the whole point is we are in a very extraordinary circumstances where the process has been highlighted as more important than the numbers. So you must now look at what could go wrong with the process. And the process of the election ends with the pronouncement of the results, right? Now, from the voter registration, we are fine. Nobody had ended out with how people voted, how the ballots were counted, how the ballots were transferred onto the Form 34As, how they got into the 34Bs, how they got to the 34Cs. What became the issue? That the National Returning Officer announced the results in an unprocedural way or something. So all of a sudden, we now need to think of this National Returning Officer, right? Supposing, yeah, God forbid, yeah, he fell sick on that day, what would happen? Because the law does not allow anyone else to pronounce those results, then the vice chairman would naturally do it because of our schedule, what it allows, and then these guys will go to court and say it was announced by the wrong person and go back to election, right? So we must provide for a fallback mechanism in the absence, because there's nobody who is infallible, right?
But that, don't you think, is just one issue of the whole process?
But that is
because there's issues to do with the transmission of results, and even the forms that you're talking about.
We are going step by step.
Right.
In terms of the person who announces, you cannot put the lives of 45 million Kenyans on just one person.
Okay.
Okay. So it's a corporate, and good corporate governance always demands that there should never be a void. Okay. In the leadership, if one is not there for some reason, or because it's late, then what?
Somebody else. Okay,
we'll continue. That's one.
Yes,
then in terms of
I want us to take a short
transmission, in terms of the transmission, what does Wanjiku want? Wanjiku has cast her ballot. All she needs to see is how has my ballot been transferred all the way to the final results. What is the best thing? First of all, the results, 34A, pinned outside the door. So everyone can see, in Kipiperi, these are how people voted. In Kipiperi, primary school.
Okay.
Go to Kipiperi Tallying Center. This is how all the results were collected, right? What could be more transparent? Then that is then brought, and 290 forms, we can sit here, the two of us, and within 2 hours, we have collected everything. We don't need computers.
All right, I'll need you to pause you there. We'll come back to that issue, because that's another serious issue that NASA also has a problem with, that whole manual transmission of results. It's a bigger conversation. We'll be having it after this short commercial break. We need to take it to have some water. We'll be coming back in a few minutes. You need water? Let's have water.